Welcome back to Cannabis Coast to Coast. I'm Kimmy Cannabis from Oklahoma. Remember to download the new PCM TV app, available at the App Store and Google Play. Next up, let's talk about the state of Texas. This week, their Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, announced that he would like to ban all THC-derived products from his state. Texas has a licensed medical program, but they also have over 7,000 stores that sell the unregulated hemp products out there. Remember, this is the state where there are now 9 cities who have voted to decriminalize possession of cannabis. A citizens advocacy group called Ground Game Texas is responsible for organizing these local initiatives, much to the chagrin of the governor, the lieutenant governor, and even the attorney general, who are all looking for ways to stop this citizens-led movement. There are a lot of citizens in Missouri who are enjoying a special weekend where their beloved Kansas City Chiefs are taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 59. Here's Brandon Jones.
Hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones with B Green Distribution with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. And that's right, it's Super Bowl weekend and everybody's excited here in Kansas City. And one of the new things that is around is cannabis consumption parties where you can go watch the Super Bowl and consume. So basically, there's been lounges that have popped up in the Missouri area that are now membership only. So you can pay a daily membership, a weekly or a monthly, even some places take a yearly membership fee, and then you're allowed to come into this lounge. Basically, it's got TVs, some have arcades, ping pong, all sorts of other fun pool, other stuff that you can do while you're there, and you can consume cannabis. There's no alcohol sold, but there's lots of fun. Karaoke night was just held with the place that I'm going to today on Friday night. So the one that I'm going to is in downtown Kansas City. It's called the Tree Lounge. It's on McGee Street. And there's quite a few of them here in Kansas City area that are popping up. And they're all over. One of my good buddies has hosted one down at the Lake of the Ozarks at the Regalia at the Dab Stars Lounge. So there's all sorts of these lounges popping over the state of Missouri where you can go, be with amongst your friends, watch a game, play some games, and enjoy some cannabis. Other things we've noticed around that we're going to celebrate this week are the expungements. Yes, over 175,000 cases have been expunged off records here for nonviolent cannabis crimes. So that's another great issue that we're having, another win here that we're having here in Kansas City. So hopefully we're going to root on the Chiefs today at the lounge while consuming some cannabis, and I'm going to be there. Check out some video footage from later. Let's go Chiefs! I'm Brandon Jones with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Stay medicated and educated. Have a great week.
I'm Amy Carter out of Michigan. Next up, it's time for the Chicago clone guy, Mark Allen, with his Illinois Cannabis Report. Mark?
What's up, everybody? I'm Mark Allen, the Chicago clone guy here, reporting from the clone camp about an hour outside of Chicago. This is Bird. What's up, little buddy? We got a lot to report for you today for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Thanks for tuning in. First thing we're going to talk about today is a new State Bill 42, which has been proposed here to reverse a reversal of a law that requires your marijuana to be in a smell-proof container when you're transporting it. It also allows the police to search a vehicle if they smell raw cannabis or burnt cannabis. The interesting part of this is that the Illinois Sheriff's Association has come out and literally admitted that they're not really sure how to determine the difference between the raw odor and the burnt odor, and it's kind of conflicted, and I think they're kind of getting tired of putting people in jail over something that's supposed to be legal. But that's State Bill 42, so that's a step in the right direction. We like seeing that. Something else interesting going on right now that I think's, I guess it's going to be, it's going to be more and more, relevant, I think, coming here with the legalization across the country is somebody in the state of Illinois now, with the help of a law firm, has created a class action lawsuit to sue all the major dispensaries here in the state. Cresco, Cannabis, Lesso, Verano, Progressive Holdings, they're all getting sued for an individual supposedly that drank too much RSO oil. Rick Simpson oil. Keep in mind that Rick Simpson oil is directly contributed to helping people with epilepsy, with other ailments, with Parkinson's, with so much. So yes, you're not supposed to drink the whole bottle at once, just like you're not supposed to drink the whole bottle of vodka at once unless you're, trying to hurt yourself. But the point is, people are suing for things that are common sense, but that's the times that we live in right now. But that sums up this week's major news in Illinois. I'm Mark Allen, the Chicago Clone Guy. This is Bird. As you could tell, he's just not comfortable at all with what's going on here. But thanks for tuning in to Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
In New Mexico, the people who run that state's regulation is the Cannabis Control Division. They are asking their elected officials to create a task force that would be charged with shutting down the illicit market in that state. They have also had issues with U.S. Border Patrol officers interfering with the legal cannabis delivery system in that state. So maybe the idea of a task force to support the legal industry is a good idea. If anything, the target of their enforcement should help, not hurt, legal industry operations. In Ohio, 6 months into their adult use of sales, the state legislature is already trying to change the existing laws, and that has not been well received, to say the least. Christina Brisson is our Ohio correspondent, and her report is supported by Yellow Labs, a measured microdose delivery of THC-based tincture. That product is now available in 40 dispensaries in Ohio and now back in Massachusetts at ACS in West Bridgewater and Hall and now COSA in Marlborough. Here's Christina.
Around Columbus, Sophia is a beacon of sensuality who embraces her sensuality and desires. Seeking to enhance intimacy, she tries Yellow Lab's THC Libido Mist. The mist ignites passion, awakening desires, and fostering authentic connections. Empowered by its effects, she embarks on a journey of exploration and intimacy. THC Libido Mist serves as a catalyst, kindling desire and intimacy.
Hi, I'm Christina Brisson with Over the Top Renovations with your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News. I apologize for the short report tonight, folks, but my voice is absolutely not cooperating with me. But I at least wanted to touch on the politics going on in Ohio right now. Governor Mike DeWine and Senate Bill 56 are proposing to eliminate the Host Community Cannabis Fund, which currently receives 36% of the tax generated from cannabis revenue, and instead wants to turn it around and use it for things like the jail project and general funds. Other people involved in this fight are calling this a bait and switch tax cash grab, which I agree. I hope to see a lot more fight on this and a lot of people speak up. Thank you all. And this is Christina Brisson with your weekly Ohio Cannabis Report with Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
The Ohio Cannabis Report is supported by Yellow Labs and Better Ways to THC.com. Search for Yellow Labs near me and find one of 40 dispensaries in Ohio carrying these amazing mists and creams.
As we continue to report on the race to become the 25th state in the U.S. to legalize adult use and sale of cannabis, one more is about to enter that race. It's Tennessee. This past week, the Tennessee Cannabis Act was introduced by two state congressmen from the Democratic Party, State Senator Jeff Yarbrough and Larry Miller from the Tennessee House. The law would legalize adult use for over 21-year-olds, add a 15% excise tax on sales, and allow home grow for as many as 12 plants per dwelling. The regulatory body in charge of the industry in that state would be the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. Now, there is also a social justice clause that would release and expunge current prisoners' records for non-violent cannabis offenses. Currently, Tennessee only allows for CBD use, and a poll by Vanderbilt University in Tennessee found overwhelming support for adult use, with 63% of voters in favor of legalization in Tennessee. The most surprising fact was discovered in this poll is that 53% were Republicans who were supporting adult use. Now combine that with the 78% of the Democrats who also support it. Let's see if that state can actually get it done. Now let's check in with Karen Black with the Arizona Cannabis Report, where there's a very active manufacturer who is a big favorite for this weekend's big game, the Super Bowl between Kansas City and the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting with the Arizona Cannabis Report for Cannabis Coast to Coast News. 2 cannabis companies are cashing in on sporting events. The Mint Cafe in Tempe, Arizona, took hundreds of orders for Super Bowl Sunday for its cannabis-laced big game meal deal. 25 miles north in Scottsdale, Curaleaf held a week-long celebration at its Arizona headquarters, which is across the street from the Waste Management Phoenix Open Golf Tournament. In business news, New York's Ianthus Capital Holdings is unloading 3 of its Arizona dispensaries and 2 cultivation facilities to Sonoran Roots for a cool $36.5 million. The deal will expand Sonoran Roots' Ponderosa dispensary footprint to 7 retail locations across the state. Ianthus is keeping 1 dispensary in Mesa to maintain a presence here. Meanwhile, Phoenix-based Tilt Holdings is selling off 2 dispensaries in Massachusetts for $2 million in cash. Tilt's handing over its Taunton shop to In Good Health and shutting down its Brockton location. Tilt is maintaining a store in Cambridge, at least for now, while they further evaluate their plant touching operations. Both transactions are expected to close in the first quarter, pending regulatory approvals. In other interstate news, there's some drama unfolding in Missouri that might sound familiar. Arizona-based cannabis investor Michael Halo is in hot water over there, linked to hundreds of social equity license applications. Missouri regulators are calling these deals predatory, and they're cracking down on out-of-state middlemen. Halo defends his actions, saying he's just providing resources to those who need it most. Mr. Halo has previously faced similar allegations here in Arizona. A couple more cannabis-related bills made it into Arizona's 57th legislature before the deadline, including a comprehensive hemp bill. Key points include creating a distinction between industrial hemp and hemp-derived products, expanding licensing and compliance requirements, and improving testing, safety, labeling, consumer protections, and enforcement. And lastly, the judging period for the High Times 2025 Arizona Cannabis Cup has begun and will continue through April 6th. Also, time is almost up to smoke sneakers for a chance to win $10,000 cash from the Mazor Collective. February 13th is the last date to enter. That's all for this week's Arizona Report. I'm Karen Black from Greenfinger Consulting reporting for Cannabis Coast to Coast News.
Our regular California correspondent, Dean Naguib, is off this weekend, but recovery from the historic destructive wildfires continues. History will show that this year's fires have been the most destructive ever, with 16,000 structures destroyed in the 47,000 acres that was reduced to ash. On Wednesday of this past week, Governor Gavin Newsom offered to defer annual fees for licensed cannabis operators in certain zip codes around the Los Angeles area. Many of those structures were either grow facilities that were destroyed by the smoke and dispensaries like Rise in Pasadena and High Tide in Malibu who suffered major damage. One of the largest chains of cannabis dispensaries in California is Embark, and they've organized a GoFundMe campaign with monies going directly to cannabis companies who are struggling to rebuild. You can find the United Cannabis Community Fire Relief Fund, and of course any denomination is encouraged. They're still short of their goal of just $90,000, and so far they have just 137 donations from $10 all the way up to $16,000, all tax deductible. So if you really want to help the cause in California, log on and give what you can. Now, let's check in with Joe Parsons in Virginia. He has a story this week about an advocate in that state who got busted for an unlicensed pop-up store and was facing over 100 years in jail. Here's Joe with a story of Don Morris.
I'm Joe Parsons from the Virginia Cannabis Connection, and this is a Virginia Cannabis special report on Cannabis Coast to Coast News. Today, I'm in Louisa County, standing in front of the Louisa County Courthouse for the sentencing of Don Morris. If you've been following us on Pro Cannabis Media, you already know that Don Morris is the owner of Higher Education. She was also facing a 160-year jail sentence for running an illegal pop-up cannabis operation in September of 2023.
It's not going to change the fact that I believe that cannabis is an important part of human existence, and that it is something that should be legal and free, and that we were given these plants. Plants should not be regulated like this, and that it is important for people to know the value of cannabis and psilocybin so that they can personally make their lives better on a daily basis as opposed to big pharmaceutical.
The good news is she did not get 160 years. The bad news is that she was sentenced to a total of 22 and a half years for running this pop-up operation. She'll only have to serve 15 months as the rest of her sentence was indeed suspended. This is a small win for the cannabis community because most of the cannabis-related charges were indeed reduced down to next to nothing. If it wasn't for the fact that there was mushrooms involved, which is still classified as a heavily illegal Controlled 1 substance in Virginia, she would have probably not even served any jail time. So, this is proof that legislation is working. Speaking to your congressmen, your senators, it does make a difference. Thinking about running an illegal pop-up shop in Virginia, you better think twice, because they don't play when it comes to the jail time. Not only will Dawn Morris have to serve at least 15 months, her life will be upended for the next 22 years. Until next time, this has been...
Well, that will do it for the B Block, our second section of our weekly Cannabis Coast to Coast news report. Coming up is, of course, my conversation with an Ohio lobbyist named Tim Johnson, who's a retired law enforcement, a trainer, and an activist in that legal state. Now, even though adult use is now legal, the fight continues in the Ohio legislature because a lot of those lawmakers want to change the rules in the industry, and it's only been operational for 6 months. Don't go away. Now, are you fearful that this is going to change what is already an existing market?
Well, first I'll say this. We offered them a participation trophy in this, but they decided that they wanted the gold medal.
It's a whole new world of weed out there, isn't it? Everyone is learning new ways to titrate, ingest, consume, imbibe, and engage with this plant medicine we call cannabis. Now, let me tell you my cannabis story. You know, I've had 4 major surgeries in the past 23 years and suffer from osteoarthritis with a variety of metal parts in my body and one on deck. Now, thanks to those chronic pain issues, I've been a medical patient in Massachusetts for almost 10 years now. I remember my first trip to a dispensary just outside of Boston, and I told the bud tender I didn't want to smoke it anymore, so I tried edibles, then tinctures, then vaping, and now, if I'm going to smoke, I only use the Weegits filtration system. What? The Weegits.com, Weegits, that's weed, W-E-E-D, G-E-T-S.com, is where you'll find the planet's coolest product that cools the smoke from everyone's favorite flower. The guy that started this was a pretty good medical device manufacturer, and he created this maze pipe that cools the smoking process from 1300 degrees Fahrenheit upon inflammation down to just 90 degrees when it reaches your mouth. That's right, 1300 down to 90. That's why this maze pipe is amazing. Now, add in the code of PCMTV and you get 15% off. So just go to Weegits.com and check out the best way to enjoy a cooler smoke with less coughing and hacking and more peace of mind.